and we're here to count down to midnight with a roundup of some of the boy party movies we didn't get to in 2024. It's Lucy and it's Shane. It's the last boy party of the year. Welcome to the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Boy Party, the podcast about movies where two or more major stars share the screen and battle it out for screen time, top billing, the fatter paycheck, and the most acclaim. My name is Lucy and Daly, and as always, I'm joined by the only person I want to spend New Year's Eve with. It's Shane Kelly.
Happy evening, guys. Happy New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. I know you want to spend your last day of the year listening to us talk about a random assortment of stuff. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into Boy Party throughout 2024. We started the show last January. It's almost coming up to 1 year. This is our 51st episode of the show, plus a couple of bonus episodes, and delighted to still be doing it. And we're doing something a little bit different today for New Year's Eve to round out the year. We're not doing our end of year sort of best of episode. We're saving our best films of the year sort of stuff for the Golden Boy Awards, which will be happening between now and the Oscar ceremony. Yeah. And we'll be giving you our favorite performances and costume design and VFX and films of the year. So you can look forward to that. Today we are staying focused on our sort of theme of the podcast, which we sometimes waver from, which is boy party movies with two or three major stars who can all be deemed as the lead of the movie, if you wanted to, and who is the bigger star and who is the real star of the movie. So we are going to go through a couple of movies that came out in 2024, and I have 13 films on this list. We'll see if I think of any other ones during the...
Some of them we've seen, some of them we haven't.
Some of them, I'd say I've seen about two-thirds. Between us, we've seen about two-thirds of these. Yeah. And there's a few we haven't seen. Sure. These are the boy party movies that we could have done episodes on this year if we felt like it.
These are the boys that didn't get invited to the party.
Yeah, these are the boys that didn't get invited to the party. They set up a group chat to complain about us, and now we're going to shit talk them on the air. So fuck you, bastards. Yeah. Starting off with a great film, His Three Daughters. This is a boy party movie.
I rescind the fuck you. These are invited to the boy party.
This is Azazel Jacobs' drama. It premiered in the festivals last year, but it only came out this autumn. Stars three fabulous actresses, Carrie Coon, Natasha Lyonne, and Elizabeth Olsen. And the only reason that none of these actresses have a proper Oscar chance right now is because
there's three of them.
Because it's a boy party movie.
Yeah. And
there's three of them, and they all have equally large roles, and it's incredibly hard to decide who's the better performance of the three. We've discussed at length who is the standout of this film, and I think between us we can't really make up our minds.
I think it's kind of Natasha Lyonne in the most in your face kind of way.
Yes.
Whereas she's the one with the bright hair, kind of she's almost the counter character to the other two. Who seem to come as a duo because they're the ones that don't live in the house. Yeah. Natasha Lyonne lives in the house. They're invading her space.
Yeah. So there's a binary setup there.
It kind of revolves around her because they're coming into her space and into her environment and basically talking shit about her.
Her character dominates the space more because she lives
She's
there.
the one who's under the most criticism.
There's more vibes of her existence in the apartment. Yeah. Now, I think she's also the actress in this movie who would be the hardest to replace, in the sense that her thing is so specific. I feel like as much as I love Carrie Coon and Elizabeth Olsen, I feel like Natasha Lyonne is the most specific actress in the film where like you couldn't recast her role as easily with anybody else.
Is her, like, I don't really know her at all. So is this kind of not a typecast thing for her, but is this the...
Yeah, she plays like stoner lesbians in everything. Right. Like that's kind of her...
Is she from Orange is the New Black, or did I make that up?
No, she's not. I don't think she's on Orange is the New Black. She has a big Netflix show called Russian Doll. Okay. She was a child actor. She was in that movie we watched a bit of with Alan Arkin, and was Krumholtz in it? And there was like, they were his kids and they were all staying in a motel. We watched it the day he died.
Marissa Tomei in that?
No, Slums of Beverly Hills.
Slums of Beverly Hills.
She's the daughter in that.
Yeah.
And then she's in this like cult lesbian comedy called But I'm a Cheerleader, which the Lighthouse seems to show 10 times a year. And she's not really someone who's been on my radar, but she's in Russian Doll, which is a show my parents really liked, which is on Netflix. And I feel like she's really taken off in the last couple of years and like gets loads of work. And she has that show Poker Face, which is Rian Johnson's other detective murder mystery project, which is a Peacock show. But I think she's wonderful in this. And like, it's a role that would make me want to watch her in more stuff. Carrie Coon is obviously like our collective favorite actress of the last 10 years. It's amazing to see her in a lead role in a cinema. I feel like that's just never happened other than the Ghostbusters films. I haven't had an opportunity to just watch Carrie Coon just like do a movie star performance, and it's wonderful, even though her character in this is kind of infuriating. And then Elizabeth Olsen just like showing a nice and nuanced side of herself that her Marvel career has not facilitated. So
yeah, and I feel like the Elizabeth Olsen character could easily get lost in this.
Yeah.
But manages to kind of play the subtleties of it pretty well.
No, she's so good.
It feels like a fleshed out character, even though it's kind of...
And for those who don't know, the movie's just the three of them in an apartment while their father is dying in a bed in the other room. And we never really see the father. It's just the three of them arguing about various things to do with his health.
Ultimately, he kind of just doesn't die on schedule.
No, so they
end up spending more time with each other than they expect.
Yeah, definitely it bears absolutely no resemblance to any real life situations that any of us were in this year. Anyway, we will be talking about this film again on our Golden Boys episode, because I'm sure it'll be cropping up in a number of categories for us both. We are going through these movies, by the way, in order that they were originally released, but in the case of some festival premieres. Next up is a movie called Miller's Girl. Now, I watched this. This is a film starring Jenna Ortega and Martin Freeman. This is a real low-level boy party. Like
it is, but it's also one of the more unusual pairs.
Yeah. We're talking here one of the biggest TV star of the last 5 years, and a guy who was the star of the biggest show on TV very briefly.
Sherlock?
No? Yes. But I was thinking of Sherlock, but now I'm thinking, has he been the star of the biggest show on TV twice, if you count The Office? He's not the star of The Office, but the man was in The Office, then he was in Sherlock, and then he was in $3 billion fantasy blockbusters. Second build. But the lead of those three films, that is Martin Freeman, a very strange man who I would have told you when I was 14 was one of my favorite actors. And I do like him. I do like his persona of like everyman shtick, but he's no Rory Kinnear. And to be honest, his real life persona and his wife's real life persona have just in the media have just become kind of annoying. And
who's his wife?
Amanda Abington. They just seem like they're not super nice people. They just seem to cause a lot of trouble. So I've cooled out Martin Freeman.
Just kind of get off my lawn, people. Like
I think maybe there's a bit of transphobia stuff. I don't quote me on this, but I see a lot of stuff on Twitter being like they suck. So. This movie is kind of a nonce teacher type thing where he is an English teacher. He introduces his student to the poetry of Henry Miller, and which is very erotic. And Jenna Ortega keeps coming into school and being like, "Oh, sir, I've been reading this poetry and it's so erotic, and now I'm thinking about you through a lens of this poetry." It's just like a real like. I don't need to be watching this. Like it's just kind of intentionally creepy in a way that's meant to be kind of funny.
It seems like a film that stemmed out of the desire to put Jenna Ortega in that situation rather than a plot and then old cast.
100%. Somebody wanted to make a movie where Jenna Ortega would have an affair with her teacher, and this is what they came up with.
Yeah.
It is produced by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, which I didn't realize until the movie ended. And when that came up, I was like, oh, I guess this was meant to be funny, because I didn't find it funny. I thought it was just really uncomfortable. It also stars...
It doesn't run like a comedy.
No, not really. It's just creepy, and it just has this like American Beauty music and just a lot of like it's just kind of like shit American Beauty, like.
But it doesn't feel like a parody of American Beauty.
I didn't think it did, but now in hindsight, I'm like, I guess it was trying to be kind of pastiche-y, schlocky B movie 80s like pervo movie. Martin Freeman is good casting as the Matthew Broderick in Election type, English teacher who accidentally ends up
he's great because you
seducing a student.
Martin Freeman's on-screen persona will garner infinite sympathy for.
Yes.
Oh, you're just getting mixed up in this. You're an innocent man.
Exactly. The best performance of the movie is Dagmara Dominishk from Succession, who plays Jenna Ortega's mother, which is really good casting. She has the same kind of like ethnically vague appearance.
She Marsha?
No. Yeah, Marsha. Yeah, she's really good in it. That is Miller's Girl. One of the worst films I've seen this year, to be clear.
Okay.
Next up in chronological order is a movie that neither of us have seen. This is Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. Now, the title of this movie is written Godzilla X Kong, but according to the filmmakers, the title of this film is pronounced Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. The X is silent. This is a movie directed by Adam Wingard. It's the second Godzilla Kong crossover in the Warner Brothers Monarch franchise. Have you seen any of these movies? The Godzilla 2... Skull Island.
Nope.
There's also a TV show called Monarch with Kurt Russell.
No, I have limited interest in these.
Yeah, it's a big monkey, but I'm not really into it. So in this one, Godzilla and Kong had to team up against a colossal undiscovered threat hidden within our world. Some of the actors in this movie are Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Dan Stevens. Bit depressing. This movie was a huge hit, and I will never see it.
Brian Tyree Henry should be getting boyfriend in his Three Daughters roles, not this shit.
Yeah, exactly, not this shit. No interest in it. So who's the real star of Godzilla Kong? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I don't know if either of them necessarily wins this fight. Next up is The Substance. Now, this is one that only you have seen.
This is one only I have seen.
Former guest of the show, Luke Shanahan, made the point to me when he saw this that there is a boy party idea contained within the text of the film, and that the two leads are constantly fighting for screen time.
Very much so. It's like, you know the plot. Demi Moore gets a substance that creates a second version of herself, and it's swapped over and back every week. And she's fighting with her younger self. It's like, it's very specifically a boy party. It's remarkably a boy party, and
they're positioning Demi as lead and Quali as supporting in the awards race, which seems fair to me just based on the setup of the film.
Yeah, because I guess Margaret Qualley's personality and character is purely a derivation of Demi Moore as a character.
Yes.
But they do get kind of equal screen time. Margaret Qualley does get the big kind of finale more so.
Yeah.
It's something that's grown on me in hindsight. I was kind of repulsed by it when I saw it first.
Yeah.
It has kind of a, I'm not going to say like a, I was going to say like a minimalism to it, but where like there's kind of no one else in the film apart from like the two leads for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Where it's just like one person in an apartment, one person walking down an empty street.
Yeah. They're not
what I
can
compare it to is a headache. Like I wrote this in my little review. It's like it gave me a headache the same way standing beside a telephone mast would.
Okay.
In a way that it's not.
It's just projecting too much energy.
It's projecting energy that's like, it's probably not real, but it feels like the entire thing has a buzz about it in the background that's just like niggling at you.
Yeah.
But it's grown on me as I've let it sit, and I realized it probably was meant to upset me.
Yeah.
And it did a little bit, and it's gross. And no, I'm glad it was excessive as it was towards the end.
Yeah.
And it got disgusting, and the prosthetics, and it's all physical prosthetics,
which is cool. Yeah,
I like that. It does stupid shit where like the 2001 music kicks in at one point, which stupid. I feel like is just overly tropey. But no, fun idea.
Who's the better performance, do you think?
I don't.
Or are they both just doing their usual thing?
I don't know Demi Moore that well.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a little bit of
Demi Moore.
I'm not going to call it whaley from Demi Moore, but it is. We're going to make Demi Moore disgusting.
Absolutely.
And vulnerable.
The character seems a little too inspired by Demi Moore's real life persona. Not in how she exists now, but in the sense that she was a beautiful actress, and then they stopped giving her work because she got old.
Yeah.
The film is commenting on that a bit.
Like they make her look kind of insane. Like but like a little whaley is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's
not a pills performance.
It's not.
She's no Julianne Moore.
It's not a pills. Oh, it's more of a needles performance.
Needles performance.
Injections. Give me my injections.
Yes.
I need my injections.
Oh, yes, that's a whole other type of thing. That's an alternative to a pills performance.
Yeah, no, she goes a bit cracked, and it's kind of hysterical, witchy type of performance. But I don't think it's something people will look at and be like, wow.
Yeah.
Demi Moore, what our finest.
I think she's going to get an Oscar nomination, so... But that's just because people like her, and she's been campaigning real hard. She's been on talk shows with a dog all year.
Look, I would much rather she get a nomination for this than maybe like Angelina Jolie for Maria. This is going out there. Yeah. She is doing something pretty radical here.
Like a body horror by a weird French female director is always going to beat a fucking biopic of a singer who died.
I hope so.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad she did it. It's not like my favorite film ever, but I appreciate what it was going for.
Very good. Next up on our list is Bad Boys Ride or Die. Now, we had the opportunity to go to the premiere of this with an after party in Club Soho with a mechanical bull, and we turned down that opportunity, and as a result, we can't talk about it. But Will Smith and Martin Lawrence back for the fourth time.
Will Smith. This is Will Smith on the dole.
Yes, this is Will Smith can't get any work other than
back to the post office. Will Smith.
Right. Bad Boys is the one franchise where Will Smith can go back and be like, can I do another one of these? And they're like, fine. The only people who watch these movies are people who think that you hitting Chris Rock was a good thing. So you can make this and we'll sell it, and the Club Soho crowd will show up for it. This movie did very well at the box office. Weird supporting cast. Vanessa Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig, Ian Grufford, Eric Dane, and our girl, Rhea Seehorn, as well as Tiffany Haddish, DJ Khaled, and Joe Pantoliano. Kind of makes me want to watch it, how many weird people are in the cast.
I fucking poor Rhea Seehorn.
I know. The directors went on blank check a couple of weeks after it came out and were like the worst guests in the history of the podcast. They were so boring, and that didn't make me want to watch it anymore. So I'm not into the Bad Boys franchise. Never finished any of these movies. They're just slightly too gun porny for me. There's not much else to them really other than the gun stuff and like kind of crazy Miami like clubbing, like Fast and Furious manages to dilute that stuff, and I feel like Bad Boys is just like completely purified. So not interested.
This probably I can't tell if it's gonna be the last time I reference His Three Daughters, but like give Rhea Seehorn His Three Daughters.
Rhea Seehorn is next in the queue.
She should be doing Carrie Coon stuff rather than.
It does feel like Carrie Coon was able to
break away from The Leftovers,
which is crazy given that way more people watch Better Call Saul than watch The Leftovers. Like The Leftovers was an abandoned show, but it's almost as though because The Leftovers was so underrated, there was an overcompensation to give her film roles as soon as it ended. Like the second it ended, she was showing up in The Post, then she was in Ghostbusters, now she's in this. It probably doesn't hurt that she's married to Tracy Letts, and as a unit they have managed to charm people, and
they're probably great at parties.
And they have great connections, and he's so well liked in the industry that I'm not saying she's getting work because of her husband. No,
she 100% deserves every
but I do
bit
think
of work
that
she gets.
It helps that she's part of a power couple, whereas Rhea Seehorn is floundering out there on her own a little bit, waiting for Vince Gilligan to make her new show, which apparently is coming to AMC and is probably going to get canceled after one season, like Lucky Hank.
Networking counts, you know?
Next up is a Netflix movie called A Family Affair. I turned this off after 20 minutes.
Is this the Adam?
This stars, Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron and Joey King.
Ooh.
Now, we obviously just talked about Nicole a couple of weeks ago on our Moulin Rouge episode. This is absolute peak Nicole garbage streaming bullshit. In between her, mediocre streaming shows that she makes, she does the odd crappy film. This is a movie in which it's a little too similar to the Anne Hathaway idea of You, which is good. Premise of this is that Nicole Kidman is Joey King's mom. Joey King is the assistant to a famous movie star played by Zac Efron, and Zac Efron and Nicole Kidman develop a romance, which is a fun idea. But I found this completely unwatchable. It was directed like Fair City kind of level, like really like green screen, bad lighting, like Megalopolis fucking movie, like just complete disaster.
Like single angle camera,
just really appalling. I'm looking here like all half star and 1-star reviews. Like a horribly directed film. I want to name the director specifically to call him out for how useless he is. His name is Richard LaGravenese, and he is the director of P.S. I Love You and Freedom Writers. Now, he did also make the movie Beautiful Creatures, which I like, so I don't want to be too harsh on him, which I have just been very harsh on him. But
I'm sure all those three actors got like $1 million plus to be in this.
Absolutely. Does Joey King get to be part of that boy party conversation of those three? I think she does, which is insane. But
she's a big streaming star.
She's like a big Netflix star, which is something I respect because I always liked Joey King. I like her less now than I used to, but
like, would Netflix consider her a slightly more bankable person than Zac Efron at this point?
Yeah, I would say so.
So what's her main thing? She was in the Kissing Booth.
Kissing Booth is her main thing. My relationship with her was through the Roland Emmerich movies. She was in White House Down, which she was very good in.
Okay.
And then she was in Independence Day Resurgence, and she was in Stonewall, which is garbage. But she worked with him for a few years and became kind of his like young breakout. That's that movie. Next up is Fly Me to the Moon. This is Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson, and it is a movie about the moon landing, a rom-com set in NASA in the 60s. I cannot think of anything less interesting, I'm afraid. Our former guest, Katie Brady, did enjoy this, but I will not be watching. It's an Apple-Sony co-production, directed by Greg Berlanti, who's a TV guy, co-stars Woody Harrelson, Ray Romano, Jim Rash, and it's basically just like crappy Mad Men, but space-themed, and it's all about the fashion and the 1960s flirtation. Sparks fly in all directions. I'm not going to watch this.
Are we getting season 2 of the Billy Crudup Moon show?
We're not. That show was canceled. What was that show called? I'll give you €100 if you tell me it was canceled. Oh my God, what was that show called? Billy Crudup Moon Show. What was it called? No.
Was it called Fly Me to the Moon?
No, it wasn't. I'm just going to Google Billy Crudup Moon Show. We'll be hearing more about this on our Almost Famous episode coming in a week or two.
Yeah.
Hello Tomorrow.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum, two people I like in a vacuum, but together, something about that just I don't find particularly exciting. I'm like, yeah, I feel like your energies are going to cancel each other out and be very flat. Like they're both too straight to be in something together. Neither of them is high energy enough.
Okay, I was just about to say you need someone with more
you need to put him,
energy.
Yeah, you need to put him with Sandra Bullock, and you need to put her with Adam Driver or Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
Together, they're just like monotone. Like, so I won't be watching that. Next up, another one we haven't watched, The Union. This is a Mark Wahlberg, Halle Berry Netflix original. This is one in a long series of Mark Wahlberg Netflix originals that all look completely identical. In fact, the poster is almost exactly the same as the poster of Spencer Confidential, which was yellow and white. This is orange.
I was significantly less exposed to this film than I was to the Mark Ruffalo ads I get on Instagram now. That like
for Christian.
Take 5 minutes to take a prayer.
Yes.
Hey, say hi to your mother for me.
He's really tanked his...
Take a prayer.
Yes. He's
take
really...
5 minutes.
5 minutes. He's really tanked his star reputation in like 5 years. Like I feel like he's now a complete punchline, and he wasn't. Like there was no need for him to be. He came off a big string of hits. He had Lone Survivor, he had Transformers, he had Ted, and then suddenly he started doing this absolute dreck. And now he's in Father Stu and the
Joe Bell,
Arthur the King, Joe Bell, and now he has that movie about the pilot. Need a pilot? Y'all need a pilot? What's that called? Flight Risk.
Flight Risk.
A new Mel Gibson film.
Oh Jesus!
And he's in The Union. Which
he's just kind of
just what an absolutely embarrassing character he is.
It's great casting that Mel Gibson is his dad and
in Daddy's Home too. Oh, he's turning into Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, this is a guy who hate crimed an old Asian man with throwing rocks at him when he was a teenager. Like he's a scumbag. Like he is good in some things. I like him in Ted. I like him in The Departed. But he's a scumbag. A New Jersey construction worker goes from regular guy to aspiring spy when his long-lost high school sweetheart recruits him for an espionage mission. That could be any number of things. Halle Berry's someone who just also has no juice these days. Like, really, it's like she's in shit like Moonfall. This also stars J.K. Simmons, Mike Coulter, and Adewale... Oh, I've never pronounced his name correctly. Adewale Kinoye Agbaje? I think that's kind of right. And Jackie Earle Haley. This movie looks boring, and I'm not going to watch it, and that's all we have to say about it. Next up is Wolves. You never got around to Wolves.
I didn't get around to Wolves.
We were so determined we were going to do Wolves on this podcast. Like, really, like, that was on the schedule.
We pulled an Apple Music on it.
We pulled an Apple.
We pulled it.
We pulled an Apple on Wolves. Wolves was meant to get big cinema release.
If we saw it in the cinema, we would have done an episode.
Oh, we would have, for sure, because there would have been a premiere, and we would have gone, and we would have seen it early. Wolves ended up being dumped on Apple in the end of September. This is a film that is so low energy. It is George Clooney and Brad Pitt as... And the way they marketed this was like, it's Twykel Clayton, 2 Michael Claytons. And I was like, oh, sign me up. This film takes place entirely at night. It takes place over one night. And it is like dark, abandoned, like what you were saying about The Substance, where there's just this one person alone walking down the street. This whole movie is just these two guys out on these abandoned streets of New York. There's no extras. There's nothing going on. It feels like something that was made at the height of COVID. There's nobody around except the two of them and the kid from Brad Status, Austin Abrams.
Oh, God.
And then Frances McDormand is on the phone giving them instructions, which is fun. But
don't do drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs. But they are like just basically going very, very slowly, methodically moving through this night, trying to get this guy back. And
like I was really put off by the trailer and just complete lack of depth and color in it.
It's so boring. They didn't even bother putting any color on the poster. They put out the ugliest poster I've ever seen of these guys at a table with just white behind them. Hideous. And this like purple font. It's so ugly. I hate everything about this film and how... Sorry, I don't hate this film. It is not good, but I hate the way it was sold and marketed, and the fact that John Watts...
I feel like stuff like this actively damages...
It does. It damages these stars, and it damages the idea of a boy party movie being an exciting prospect, because Clooney and Pitt back together suddenly has no juice anymore. It's totally flat now. So really... just really frustrating.
Who made this again?
John Watts.
It was. I was going to say, Watts, is this John Watts?
Fair play to like. I don't think this film is horribly directed. I just don't think it has any good ideas. But fair play to John Watts. Now he's pulled the plug on a sequel because he's so pissed at Apple for what they did to his movie, which I respect. But he should have known. I mean, he was making a film that is incredibly lacking in cinematic value. He should have known that it wasn't going to get a cinema release.
Like, why was he not able to make anything better? Like, I feel like Apple aren't the most restrictive.
He's not a good filmmaker, so he shouldn't have been the person to get these two actors on board. Yeah. They just signed up for it because
Russo's got the Grey Man. He got Wolf.
The money and the Apple thing. Yeah. Next up, finally, we can talk about something we've seen. We Live in Time. We saw this last week. This is this John Crowley movie with Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh as lovers. It's the millennial answer to Love Story, guys. It's just kind of a sad but sentimental film about a couple and cancer and getting into your 30s and having kids, and I don't know. It's got a lot going on.
It's pretty it's built on a pretty standard, cliched story and narrative.
Yeah,
but it makes it interesting because they mess around with timelines a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's very well directed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Great.
The two leads are delightful.
The most charming people ever. And pretty good score.
Just
a nicely packaged film with what I felt was a pretty flat, cliched script.
Yeah.
But everyone else is making the most of it. The two actors and John Crowley are like doing everything they possibly can to make
absolutely
feel as lively as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is Pugh and Garfield, who I feel like are just two people who are like beloved on the internet, but you wouldn't necessarily have thought to put in a movie together. And it's an act of sort of producerial genius to put them in a film together.
Absolutely.
There's like a 15-year or 13-year age gap between them. Like if I was looking up IMDb like ages and being like, who would I pair with this actor in a movie? I wouldn't necessarily be putting these two in the same list. But then when you see them together, you're like, well, they're both the exact same type of English person who isn't annoying. Like, they're actually slotting into the same category where they have this like very nice, calm way of speaking that is so different to most English actors that I'm like, oh, I'm absolutely like happy to watch these guys for hours. Despite
the two actors that play Americans very well.
The two actors that play Americans very well. I do prefer Florence Pugh when she plays Americans. I always do. I like her so much more in her in just her American roles than in her English ones. But this character is also not that exciting in this film. It's just kind of based on her. It's like a young chef who likes to cook. And I'm like, yeah, Florence Pugh likes to cook on her Instagram. Okay. And then Andrew Garfield is the nicest boyfriend in the world.
That's kind of all he's got going
for him. But John Crowley like cuts from, when they first meet to when they've had a child and when she's getting cancer treatment and back and forth.
It's a really good job of making the time periods incredibly distinct without any major costume changes, without any lens or color grading.
Yeah, like they've got the same haircuts and the same clothes.
There's no nonsense like chapter titles.
Not at all. None of that shit that we hate. Like just very clear rhythms in conversation that let you know what's happening. Where you cut to a new scene and somebody's like, "Are you going to work today?" And oh, this is set 5 years after the last scene.
And it makes English houses look quite nice.
It does. It makes England look like a nice place to live.
It does, yeah.
And it's got really good, like kind of montage-y editing stuff in it. There's good, sex scenes.
A few random background needle drops with Jess Glynn.
And Years and Years. And
Levels by
Avicii. Like lots of stuff that just made me go, huh. So like a very solid 3-star film that's that I would gently but solidly recommend to anyone. Next up on our list is... Oh, I didn't put A Real Pain on here, so that should be their next one. Let's do A Real Pain next.
A Real Pain.
It's another one that we both saw. We saw this in Krakow, Poland. The movie is shot in Poland and is co-produced by the Polish Film Board or whatever, so it was a really fun place to watch it.
Yeah, instead of like wandering around and exploring Poland like the characters in the film, we decided to go and watch them in the film.
Would I have liked this as much if I wasn't in Poland? I don't know. I think it helped.
I think it helped as well.
It's good regardless. This is Jesse Eisenberg's latest feature starring him and Kieran Culkin. I feel like people are going to refer to this as Jesse Eisenberg's debut film because nobody watched his last film, which was great, which is called When You Finish Saving the World with Julianne Moore and Finn Wolfhard, which is highly recommend. And this is another really good, like, you know, two people trying to get on, like very similar themes to that first film. Two people trying to get on despite their massive differences in character. And I think both actors are doing their usual thing, but just different enough to what we're used to keep it interesting.
It is. And when they do the film, like they surround these kind of very distinct, very kind of antsy, loud characters with the most normal people.
Yes, they put them in. So they go on a Holocaust kind of tour of Poland where their grandmother lived. Yeah. And there's this English guy, Mr. White Lotus Man. I don't know his name. Is
Will Sharp.
Will Sharp. He's great. He's just like a nice, friendly English guy that would probably do a PhD in Trinity and would probably go out with one of my friends at some point. Yeah. And he is a nice man. And Kieran Culkin is like, but man, what, have you thought about doing this differently? And it's just like,
why the fuck are we on a train in Poland?
Like, yeah. And I'm like, I know so many people like this. There's a little bit of this in me, and in both characters. And I'm just like, will you please let this man do his tour? But also recognizing that the things he's saying are largely correct.
But it can't go completely off the rails because they're surrounded by like relatively calm,
who just want to get on with their holiday.
Who just kind of want to, like, they like two of these being kind of antsy opens up the tour to the others and probably makes it more enjoyable for them. But
I think so.
It restrains them, which is needed.
Definitely. Because if they were in a room alone, the movie would be unwatchable. Like,
I think so.
And Kieran Culkin's character is framed in this way where, like, he's obviously experienced a lot of mental illness and he's kind of like off the leash in this film, but he's also, everything he's saying comes from a place of like, I want everything to be ethical and principled and people not to be fucking liars and exploitative.
Yeah, it's coming from a place where like, I'm trying to fix myself here. I'm trying to make this better. He hasn't, like, there's no lack of hope in his kind of depression, which is an easy trope to fall into where you're just kind of moping around. Like,
and there's no big, stupid sobbing breakdown, you know, there's men have feelings and don't talk about it scene. Like, the way that he expresses his thing is through this manic argumentative streak, which is something that I identify with a bit, and I never see that in films of like, this guy is so frustrated with the problems in the world and he's getting so worked up about it and nobody will do anything. It's just like
the big kind of,
it never builds to anything silly. Like,
the big kind of dramatic moment is given to Jesse Eisenberg.
Exactly, which is funny because he's not that type of actor. Yeah.
He's not, and
he gets the scene where he just basically tells the others about what Kieran Culkin has been through and gets so worked up. Yeah. And you think Kieran Culkin's going to walk in on him, and he never does.
He never does.
So it builds to this crescendo of tension that never goes anywhere.
Yeah, and like, Jesse Eisenberg portrays a different kind of potentially depressed guy where he just like shoves everything down. Yeah. And he's like, I have a wife, I have a kid, nothing can be wrong because I have those two things. I have a job, and I'm stable, and I have a house. Yeah. So it's obviously repressing a lot of shit. Yeah, so
it's two type of difficult male personalities that you don't see in films very often. But they're put in a really weird situation, which is,
but you can very easily identify the traits they have in people. You know, like it's a very real portrayal.
But a movie about these two that like Woody Allen would make would be set in New York or in Paris, and they would just be walking around arguing, and that would be fine. But dropping these personality types into the most tense and weird vibes scenario ever, which is Polish concentration camps, is like such an interesting way of making sparks fly even more.
Just
and it's
through
like,
silence nearly.
Yeah, and it's such a good idea, and it works so well as a result. So really
and
good.
It's never the concentration camp stuff is never used for shock value.
No,
it's like it's expressed at the beginning. We're going to visit this on the tour. Yeah, it gets to it. There's basically, the tour guide is explaining that we're walking up to it now for a couple of minutes before they get to it. And then it just kind of cuts out and they walk through it for 5 or 10 minutes. And you come out of it kind of feeling the effect is almost like you've kind of been on the little journey with them.
Yeah.
But like, there's no need for exposition on like how they're feeling in this place.
No,
like, it's set up very well.
It's all implied. Like, it's really clever. And Culkin is the front runner right now for Best Supporting Actor. Yeah, I think putting him in Best Supporting Actor is, you know, a strategic move.
It is, because
he's
like,
not the supporting performance. He's in the movie just as much, but he is. I don't think he has any scenes on his own.
He doesn't. But I think when you look at a man who's like 5'6", neurotic and a bit scruffy looking, you're like, character actor supporting man. Like,
which is funny. I guess Eisenberg, having been nominated for lead actor once before, does give him a lead actor vibe, even though he is a character actor as well. But he made the movie, he's first billed, and he's the only one who's in scenes where he talks about Culkin behind his back, and I think that achieves something. Next up, Bring Them Down. This is an Irish movie, and is directed by British director Christopher Andrews, and this stars Christopher Abbott and Barry Keoghan, and this does the sort of Rashomon Last Duel thing, which everyone loves so much, including me, where first half of the movie, it's Christopher Abbott. He's a farmer in rural Ireland. He speaks Irish with his dad, Colm Meaney, which is so funny because Christopher Abbott is, of course, American. But he's a great actor, and he's so captivating in this. He basically gets involved in a rift with the farmers next door over sheep being kind of stolen and resold and stuff, and it turns really nasty and violent, and there's guns fired, and halfway through the movie you're like, how can the stakes ramp up any more from where they are right now? And also, why has Barry Keoghan, the Oscar-nominated actor, only been lurking around in the background? And then the movie cuts to black, and then it starts up again with Barry Keoghan as the new lead for the second half, and we get to go back and see the whole thing that's happened up to the moment it cuts happen through Barry Keoghan's eyes, and the movie basically runs twice through from each man's perspective, and Barry Keoghan is the son of the farmer next door, and we see how the rift has affected him through his family angle, and it's really clever. It's not an amazing film. It doesn't quite stick the landing. It gets a bit too like running and shooting and not much else towards the end, but it did make me interested in a Barry Keoghan character for the first time in quite a while. I'm so sick of this guy. He's not an actor I like. But I thought the way this movie took advantage of my dislike of him by having him lurking around in the background and then suddenly making him the center for the second half was a very clever way to disarm me in terms of my prejudices towards him. And Christopher Abbott's just great. And also, like, when Christopher Abbott disappears into the background of the movie, you're like, I want to see more Christopher Abbott, which keeps you interested. So works really well as a boy party of these two halves and two completely different types of actors. This scrawny little Irish guy and this like beautiful tall American guy, although he is playing Irish. So worth checking out. It'll be out in cinemas in Ireland and the UK in February. So
I had to look it up there when you said Barry Keoghan has an Oscar nomination. I was like, for what?
Yeah, Best Supporting Actor for The Banshees of Inisherin, and he won the BAFTA that year for Supporting Actor.
Did he?
And you know who beat him for the Oscar? Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah.
So really, he wouldn't have been.
Wait, so did Brendan Gleeson not get a nomination?
Gleeson got nominated, and Keoghan both got nominated.
Both for supporting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gleeson, I don't think either of them should have won that Oscar that year. But like certainly, I would have rather either of them beat Ke Huy Quan. Like
sure.
But I don't think either. I don't think Brendan Gleeson deserved an Oscar for The Banshees of Inisherin.
I'm surprised they nominated both. Yeah,
people fucking love The Banshees of Inisherin. Yeah,
into that. Yeah.
Next boy party movie is a film called Brothers, starring Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage. Also in this movie, Brendan Fraser and Glenn Close. A reformed criminal.
Is this like a reboot of Twins?
No. It looks like it could be. I mean, in the sense that there's a big guy and a small guy.
Yeah.
A reformed criminal's attempt at going straight is derailed when he reunites with his sanity-testing twin brother on a road trip for the score of a lifetime.
Sounds like a real pain.
88 minutes. I can see myself watching this over Christmas. Like, definitely can. But, like, the poster just screams Prime Video original. Like, orange and white and yellow. Oh, it's awful. Peter Dinklage is such a good actor. I really hate when he does these, like, stupid comedies because, like, he's got so many other things up his sleeve. It's a boy party movie. Yay. Next up is Red One, which I watched last week. This stars The Rock and Chris Evans, also J.K. Simmons and Lucy Liu. It's a movie about Santa Claus being kidnapped. And
really? I couldn't tell from the name.
Yeah. His number one elf, or his number one like head of security, Callum Drift, played by The Rock, has to recruit a small-time crook from the real world called Jack O'Malley, played by Chris Evans, to help him. Or he's like a guy who tracks people, whatever.
A PI?
No, he's like a thief, but he's good at tracking people.
Yeah.
So they recruit him to help find Santa Claus, and this begins 2 hours and change of special effects laden fantasy action nonsense. There's sleighs, there's polar bears, there's Krampuses, there's a lot of stupid Dwayne Johnson punchy fighty action. It's absolutely appalling.
Does it descend into gun territory?
No, there's no guns in this really,
because
it's just good. It's like PG rated, and it's it's kind of intended for kids.
Is it better than Red Notice?
It is better than Red Notice by a hair.
By a hair.
I mean, nothing's worse than Red Notice. Okay. Really, it's a little bit better. Ryan Reynolds not being in it does help. Like. But yeah, not very good. And The Rock and Chris Evans are not a duo I want to see together again.
Did this make money? You said it made a good bit.
It made okay money, like a little bit, but it's going to recoup on Prime, so it doesn't really matter how much money it made at the end of the day. Finally, last movie we're going to talk about is Wicked. Insane situation happening right now where conceivably Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande could conceivably both win Oscars for this fucking thing.
For lead and supporting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how we've gotten to this point. It's concerning me. I think the Cynthia thing is way less likely to happen. I hope it doesn't. But yeah, somehow they've both ended up like really solidly in the Oscar conversation. They are not. Ariana is not the supporting actress in this film. They are co-leads. This is a quintessential boy party movie.
Cynthia's up for lead.
Cynthia's in lead and Ariana's in supporting. Okay. Ariana is probably going to win supporting if Zoe Saldana doesn't. But I think Zoe Saldana is still the favorite there. But Ariana Grande is very good in this. Definitely the best part of this film. Cynthia Erivo is fine. I didn't really care for that character. I hadn't been exposed to the musical before, and I found Glinda as more of a fun hang than this kind of green witch who's super miserable and self-conscious. And you know, she's trying to help the farm animals who are being, massacred and genocided. But otherwise, I didn't really care about her arc as much. Movie ends with her, though, delivering this big song, defying gravity, flying around on a broom, big performance, big voice. And you're like, oh, my God, this is great. So fair play to her. This movie has been absolutely enormous. Obviously, people love Wicked as a brand more than I could have ever possibly conceived. And, you know, fair play. It's a musical and it's targeted more so at women, which is always nice to see a film that's kind of aimed at women. And
is
also
it good?
A musical do well. It's okay.
Okay.
It's fine.
Grand.
And my expectations were very low, and I gave this film 3 stars on Letterboxd, which is more than I would have expected. There was a very high chance this was going to be a 1-star film for me, like sloppy CGI, you know, annoying theater shit. And it wasn't. It was pretty fun and enjoyable and lively, and Ariana Grande is really, really funny in it. So that's it. That's it, folks. That's a roundup of the best and worst boy parties of 2024.
Did we rattle through 21 films there?
I never said it was 21 films. It was 14 films.
You said 21 before.
I never said 21. I said 14.
You said, okay.
No, I know I said 14. So that's it, everybody. Okay. That's our boy party roundup. Anything else you can think of that we should mention? I don't think so.
Is Twisters a boy party?
Twisters was the one I almost put on the list. Yeah, Twisters is kind of a boy party.
It's a bit more of a breakout for Daisy Edgar Jones.
The interesting thing about it is that Daisy Edgar Jones' first build, which I thought is interesting.
Sorry, what?
Yeah. I think that's just based on when the contracts were signed. I think that...
Oh, that's odd.
I think that when they signed up for that film, Top Gun hadn't come out yet, or something happened there where he just was slightly lower down the ranks than her. But she is also the protagonist of that film.
She is. Yeah.
Glenn Powell only shows up half an hour in as like a problem for her. Like he's almost the villain of it.
Yeah.
Twisters is pretty fun.
It's almost like Steve McQueen and Paul Newman in Towering Inferno.
Yeah, exactly. Would you put Daisy and Glenn in a film together again? I would.
Yeah. Why not?
Since we didn't get to see them kiss.
No.
Because of Mr. Spielberg, who hates everything and good in the world. I'm not really that big on Glenn Powell. I'm also not that big on Daisy Edgar Jones, but I think in that film they are both just like charming and attractive.
Look, when your alternative
nice
is
hair
Chris Evans, give me Glenn Powell all day.
Oh my God, exactly.
No, I'm happy to see Glenn Powell pop up and things now because I just know what I'm getting. You're getting full buy-in, full intention. He's not going to half-ass his roles, like so. I think it's all he can ask for.
I don't think she's got anything particularly unique going on as a movie star, but I quite like her, so I'm happy enough to see her work. So that's it. That's it for 2024, everybody.
Happy 2025.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow is 2025. We'll be back in a week, probably.
Yeah.
Or you'll never hear from us again. We've got some great episodes coming up in 2025. We're going to be talking about some movies like Almost Famous, Glengarry Glen Ross, Notes on a Scandal, the new Noah Baumbach, Adam Sandler, George Clooney movie at some point, hopefully. Anything else coming out? I can't really think. We'll have Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning.
We might just do an episode on that anyway.
We'll definitely do an episode on that.
Sure.
A couple things here and there you can look forward to.
Yeah.
So thank you all for tuning in throughout the year. We really appreciate the support. You can visit boypartypod.com, follow Boy Party Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and TikTok. And thank you, Shane. And
thanks very much.
Please get home safe from your New Year's party, because New Year's parties have the highest mortality rate of any party of the year.
Hope everyone got a kiss at the boy party.
Yeah, I hope so. Bye-bye.